This is Ryan with First to Pitch. How should we view our suppliers? Let's talk about it. So when I first got into the industry, suppliers were seen as basically replaceable commodities. You know, there's always another guy that's kind of in your bucket list that if your current guy can't get to a certain price or doing a certain thing, we would just move the product to the other one. And they were just replaceable, indispensable. And like I mentioned in previous videos, a big change happened or shift. The biggest change or biggest shift happened when the pandemic happened, when across the board supply dropped significantly and demand went up. And you know, when I was working in that time, favors became a big play of our strategy. Having those relationships, having those connections. So I say that to say this: a supplier is an extension of your brand, like I always talk about. They are going to make you or break you, and that's why it is so important, and why I emphasize that the negotiation is humanized. It needs to be more than two entities kind of negotiating together. It needs to be more than the company itself. It needs to be your brand and their brand. And I say that for this reason. If you ever decide to leave that company and you go to another company, you don't know who you might end up working with, that guy, for that guy, or that guy might become your next biggest supplier. So to burn that bridge could ruin your reputation more than it helps you. And in a lot of these industries, the community is relatively small. I've run into a lot of the same suppliers over my past lifetime, or I've re-engaged suppliers that I knew were good people. It was a good network or a good group that I wanted to reconnect with, or bring in their brand into our company to help us out. So, and then this is the other part of it too, and it's, I think, what's missed in a large part. And I've said this in previous videos. Volume and spend data is not everything. I've gotten very aggressive. I'm going to say total cost of ownership, TCO, high value, and with very little spend or volume. I mean, when you're talking about like trailers, forklifts, things like that, it doesn't compare to the mega companies. It doesn't even compare to the mid-sized company. But yet we managed to get a pretty good value when you compare it to like the used market or an inferior product. So that's why we need to treat a supplier as an extension of ourselves. We're basically hiring them as almost like a parallel employee. We're paying them, we're doing everything we do with an employee, and they have the right to have that same respect, and dignity, and that's the importance. That will help resonate your legacy and help you build who you are as a person. That supplier, the person that you're dealing with, could help, God forbid you get laid off. It's occurring in comedy today. If you get laid off, they might be able to they might know somebody and pass your resume along to someone else and get you the next job. I mean, again, it's just a really small world, and that's why we cannot treat people as commodities. We cannot treat companies as commodities. We have to treat them as, we have to humanize the process, in other words, I guess is a better way to say it. There has to be accountability. Yes, that doesn't exempt any kind of accountability or anything like that. But again, it's a people, it's an industry of people, and even a company, it's made up of people. If everyone left that company, all the people, the company would no longer exist. So that's why, that's my thoughts. That's what I have to say today. That's my Friday tirade, I guess you can call it. And, so yeah, so start looking at your salesperson maybe a little bit different today. Talking to him or her a little bit differently. And I'm not saying you have to be friends with them. I'm not saying you have to go have coffee or dinner or have a beer with them. But at least have a respect, a mutual respect between the two, knowing that that's part of your brand now. You're using them. If they mess up, it's how your stakeholders are going. Also, I'm not saying that they're going to see you as a mess up, but it's no different than if a company screws up their customer. You have to have ways to work around it to maintain your reputation. So thanks a lot for listening. Hope you find this content useful. Talk to you next time.